Honorable Ministers of the Council, members of the media, radio listeners via St. Martin Gov Radio 107.9 FM, respective radio stations island-wide, Tel TV Plus Channel 15, and online viewers. I'm Rolika Roach, and welcome to the live Council of Ministers press briefing for today, Wednesday, October 9th, 2024. At this time, I would like to invite the Honorable Minister of Justice and Acting Minister of Education, Culture, Youth and Sport, Lyndon Lewis, to address you. I would also like to inform the viewing and listening public, as well as the members of the media, that Minister Lewis will be leaving after his opening statements and his questions, as he is due in Parliament. Minister Lewis, you have the floor.
Good morning, St. Martin. Good morning, press. Good morning to my honorable ministers, Mr. Ministers Gumbs and Minister of Finance, Ms. Gumbs. Yes, thank you for also giving me the opportunity to speak first, as I am also elected member of Parliament and have conflicting schedule for the coming weeks until I transitioned just only to be a member of Parliament. Good morning, Ms. Roach. Pleasant day. Nice seeing you. I would like to go over as being Minister of Justice based on the House of Detention and also the UNOPS project. I am pleased to update you on the progress of the new House of Detention project. Last week, Minister Sabo, our Kingdom Relations representative, visited the current facility to review progress on the new detention facility that will serve our island. This project is crucial for our justice system and is being done in two phases. Phase 1. This stage focuses on the designing and the procuring both transitional and long-term detention facility. It has been fully financed by the Ministry of Interior and Kingdom Relations, BZK, representing the Netherlands. Phase 2. This is the construction phase, which will cost approximately $51.6 million United States dollars. St. Martin is stepping up to co-fund this phase, showing our commitment to improving detention conditions. Right now, the agreement is being reviewed by St. Martin, BZK, and UNOPS. We are finalizing feedback, and UNOPS is working on establishing a clear timeline for St. Martin's contribution. This project is essential for St. Martin's future, ensuring we have a safe, functional detention facility that meets modern standards. I'll go over to the custom success. I want to personally congratulate the new management team that I've put together and all custom officers for their excellent work over the past weeks. The new management team was installed by my person after identifying the neglect of the current management due to workload. They've been working tirelessly to protect our borders, and the results are impressive. We've confiscated and destroyed over 100 kilos of marijuana and 5 kilos of cocaine. One person was fined 5,500 guilders for violating restricted area regulations. Medications were also seized due to improper documentation. We are also focusing on improving team morale, which is reflected in better punctuality and less sick leave. The customs team is united, and their success shows it. Great work to everyone involved. As I've also mentioned before, as someone that worked within the Justice Ministry, it's my foundation. So therefore, it's easier for me to assess the situation within the Justice Ministry and basically come with solutions on how we can mitigate in moving forward. It's all about a togetherness. It's not based on my person, as we are working towards a better country. KPSM, Police Vehicles and Cells. Our police force is facing challenges with a severe shortage of vehicles, which hampers their ability to respond quickly. I'm happy to report that we are in the process of procuring 9 vehicles, which will be financed through the Crime Fund. The necessary national decree is being reviewed by the Legal Affairs Department, and we expect quick approval so we can resolve this issue. We are also addressing the deplorable conditions of the police cells. It was sad and unfortunate that I also learned this through someone on the street that was recently arrested, and heard it through the representatives from BZK. However, I will be addressing this issue with the management teams and the prosecutor's office, who I also understood from BZK received that information from the prosecutor's office, but the minister had no knowledge of such. Together with the National Recovery Program Bureau, NRPB, structural repairs will soon be made. However, given the urgency of the situation, we've already requested assistance from the Ministry of Interior and Kingdom Relations for immediate repairs, and I'm confident that a solution is on its way. The national decrees for civil servants under the Ministry of Justice. Batch 11 has been received back from the governor and is currently under review. With the aim of distributing it soon, discussions have taken place with the Finance Division of the Ministry of Justice regarding the progress of subsequent batches. Batch 12 has been forwarded from the ministry and is on its way to my cabinet for further processing. In the meanwhile, Batch 13 has been finalized and is currently being reviewed by the HR team and will be submitted shortly after. Human trafficking and human smuggling. The Ministry of Justice is intensifying efforts to combat human trafficking and human smuggling with several new initiatives in place. The National Reporting Center is being established to provide prevention, protection, and partnership services to the community. A multidisciplinary task force is nearly complete, which will enforce the adult entertainment policy and tackle human trafficking as a top priority. In honor of the Anti-Trafficking Day on October 18, 2024, we will unveil the new branding for the National Reporting Center. The day before, a panel discussion on human trafficking will take place at the University of St. Martin, featuring experts on the topic. Additionally, a specialized training session for law enforcement, the media, and administrative personnel will be held later this month to strengthen our collective approach. This work is part of a broader strategy to protect the people of St. Martin and address this serious issue head-on. Immigration and Border Protection Service. The Immigration and Border Protection Service is working hard to align with our community to improve the quality of service in 2024. Our focus include ensuring legal accountability and improving the quality of service. In saying so, when taking office, I've had more than 2,000 applications basically pending, 900 and something in one department, in one queue, 900 and something in the other queue, 200 and something in my queue, 90 something in the director's queue. This minister is a human being. We have basically rules and regulations on how you're supposed to follow the immigration process. The application is supposed to take about 4 months. However, we had applications still pending from 2022. I will be very straightforward and very transparent to the people of St. Martin. Since my tenure, I have also signed about more than 500 dispensation letters, which allows people to remain on the island pending their application. We have a border issue. We cannot do nothing about the people that is here. You should not be sending back anybody that is here over 5, 10, 15, 20 years. I have people that are here, even at my age of 37 that I went to school with, are undocumented today. It is our business as a country to take care of the people living here. It is our business to make sure that we also have monies in our coffers, so hence the reason why government has to come up with initiatives and incentives in order for us to make money, and the immigration process can also be very lucrative for our country. Strengthening partnerships and communications with the community, enhancing monitoring, control, and enforcement at our borders. We are making great strides in modernizing our immigration process and services, making the experience smoother and more secure for travelers and residents alike. The ABC project in modernizing border control. I am excited to announce a new public-private partnership with Princess Juliana International Airport to implement the automated border control, the ABC project. This will include 18 automated passport control, APC, kiosk, 5 automated border control, ABC e-gates, a digital embarkation and disembarkation website, which will be on www.entry.sx, which will launch in the last quarter of 2024. This project would help our border authorities more effectively identify high-risk travelers while enhancing the traveler experience. We are also looking at extending this solution to the maritime sector in the future. Safe return and deportation. Ensuring the safe return of travelers or undocumented persons remains a challenge for the Immigration, Border, and Protection Services. But we are actively working on this. The Kingdom of the Netherlands has introduced the CariNet to assist with these efforts. However, we are facing staffing shortages, and I am advocating for additional resources to build a sustainable system for managing this. Though I may be leaving within 30 days, less or more, we don't really know what is going on with the formation process, but government is based on continuity. Hence the reason I will be working every single day as if it is my last. Road safety reminder. In general, I want to remind everyone to exercise caution when using our roads. Recently, I've noticed an increase in scooter drivers performing stunts on public roads. This is not only dangerous for the individuals involved, but also for other road users. Let me be clear. This is not a safe use of our public roads, and anyone caught putting other people's lives in danger will be prosecuted. Parents, I urge you to talk to your children and young adults about road safety. Make sure that they have the appropriate licenses and safety gear before getting on the public road. And please ensure that they are not using the road irresponsibly. Your guidance can prevent accidents and save lives. The Ministry of Justice remains committed to enhancing the security and safety of St. Martin through strategic projects, modernized facilities, and strong partnerships. Together, we can build a safer and more resilient St. Martin for all. I would like to also go over my press notes as Minister of Education, Culture, Youth, and Sports. Again, I would like to say good day to the general public of St. Martin. I would also like to say my sincere condolences to all who have lost any family members in the United States based on the hurricane issues, as we also have our students there as well. I would like to provide some key updates regarding ongoing improvements and recent developments within our public schools and various other departments under the Ministry of Education, Culture, Youth, and Sport. Teachers Appreciation Day. Although Teachers Appreciation Day has passed, and previously shared a message through the media, I would like to take this opportunity to once again express my deep gratitude to all teachers. In whatever capacity you serve, you are the backbone of our society. You are the essence and the foundation of education. Thank you for your tireless efforts, long hours, your dedication, your passion, and perseverance. Thank you for your kindness, your drive, and your commitment to never giving up. You give your all, and then you have given even more. We deeply appreciate everything you do to shape the future of our communities and our world. Martin Luther King Jr. School in Dutch Quarter. As many of you are aware, it has been over 2 years since the students of the MLK Schools were relocated from the Dutch Quarter premises to allow for the necessary repairs following the damage caused by Hurricane Irma. Today, I am pleased to announce that 3 classes have already returned to rooms with unaffected tiles, and we are continuing to make steady progress. The retiling work has now been officially awarded and is scheduled to begin this week. This project is expected to take approximately 5 weeks to complete. We are also excited to announce the roof of the school that will be repainted with a beautiful depiction of St. Martin's native flora and fauna, making the school not just a place of learning, but a landmark for the community. The air conditioning installation in public schools. I am pleased to confirm that the payments for the air conditioning units for 4 public schools has been completed. Installation has already been finalized at the Martin Luther King Junior School, and work is on its way at the Mary Genevieve de Weaver School. For Dr. Alma Fleming Care Center and Ruby La Vega Primary, some additional electrical upgrades are required before the installation can be completed. We expect these upgrades to be undertaken in the near future to ensure a comfortable learning environment for all students. Clarification on recent allegations of sexual assault. A few weeks ago, there were reports suggesting that the Division of Public Education was aware of an alleged sexual assault of a minor and failed to take action. I want to make it absolutely clear today that this matter was thoroughly investigated. Based on the surveillance footage from several camera angles, the complaint brought forward by the parent was proven to be unfounded and also false. We take all such matters serious, and we are committed to the safety and well-being of all students. Donation to Prince William Alexander School. Finally, in regard to the recent break-in at Prince William Alexander School, where over 40 iPads were stolen, I have some positive news to share. Thanks to the generosity of the Rotary Club of St. Martin, in collaboration with a club from Jacksonville, 8 new iPads have been donated to the school. We are extremely grateful for this support, and it will go a long way in helping to replace some of the stolen devices and ensure that our students continue to have access to the technology they need for their education. School Safety Week. The Student Support Services Division, SSSD, is organizing a School Safety Week from October 14th to 18th, 2024, under the theme, School Safety is Everyone's Business. The aim is to highlight the importance of school safety and encourage everyone to play a role in ensuring it. Key events include the launch of School Safety Week at the Fire Prevention Week Open House on Monday, October 14th. The launch of the School Safety Talk series on Tuesday with the Youth Roundtable discussion on how bullying impacts school safety in collaboration with the St. Martin Youth Council Association. The discussion will be live streamed, and the SSSD will appear on local media shows. From Wednesday to Friday, there will be a fire drill at 6 schools, organized with the fire department. I encourage everyone to collaborate whenever and wherever they can, as school safety is everyone's business. Demolition of the Sister Marie Laurence Charles Leobel School and Library. This week marks the second round of community engagement meetings for fostering resilience learning projects for the Sister Marie Laurence and the Charles Leobel School and the St. Martin Library. These 3 buildings are part of the reconstruction project for the FRLP. The NRPB presently obtained the demolition permits from the Ministry of ROMI and are now ready to start with this phase of the project. I can tell you it's important as Minister of Education, Culture, Youth, and Sport. I have also, in collaboration with the incoming Minister of Education, we also were at the session from last night, which was very informative, and I encourage everyone to also follow up on it. The updates for the students in Florida: Nova Southeastern University, Valencia College, University of South Florida, University of Central Florida, University of Tampa, etc. Most students in the mandatory evacuation area followed these directives and have evacuated to safe places with family and friends. Students in the areas designated as safe by their school and local authorities will remain on the campus or in their apartments. During this chaotic period, responses were not received from the students. Division Study Financing will be contacting the parents and guardians of these students to ensure that they are safe. Any students who encounter challenges or require assistance can contact the Division of Study Financing 24 hours per day via WhatsApp hotline number 1721-527-3840. 1721-527-3840. Thank you.
Thank you, Minister Lewis. As Minister Lyndon Lewis is leaving for Parliament, I will allow the members of the media to pose their questions. And Bibi Hasha of SMN News, you have the floor.
Thank you, Rolika. Good morning. Good morning, Minister. Minister, just for the sake of clarification based on your statements that you made regarding the prison project, was St. Martin able to hold on to the $2 million that was promised for UNOPS, the UNOPS part of it? And can you also give us an update on the investigation that you said were launched involving management at the prison when you were informed that there were some kind of sexual harassment towards UNOP staff?
Okay. I will start with your first question. We did not lose the $2 million up to now. The $2 million also is brought up in our 2024 amendment budget that was already approved by COM. That will later on be handled in Parliament. So basically, once that is approved by Parliament, we can continue with the project with regards in using the $2 million for the upgrade of the prison. With the update, UNOPS has basically did their little investigation. They have also retracted with regards to the alleged sexual harassment claims. But also, like I said, there are also matters within the prison that we are still busy, how you're saying, we are looking into it, investigating it. And of course, if action needs to be taken, it will be taken by this minister.
Thank you, Minister, and thank you, Bibi. I would now like to invite Emma Lee of Isle 92 Radio.
Good morning, Minister. I have two questions for you. One is going in and out of St. Peter's in the morning towards the schools is always a challenge with traffic. Previously, there used to be officers on the road helping to manage the traffic flows, and for some time they haven't been visible. Is that a conscious decision from the ministry not to have officers on the road guiding and regulating traffic in the mornings?
Well, it's good that you mentioned this, Mr. Lee, as I have no knowledge of it. I'm used to seeing the officers at the junctions of Zaker Scott Road and also on LB Scott Road doing the road management. If that is not the case in recent events, I will take it up with the Chief of Police in conjunction with the Secretary General of Justice.
Great. The second question is, littering is prohibited by law. I remember there are some ordinances regarding littering. I see the companies cleaning on the roadsides, and it's very frustrating. You see them cleaning, and then the next day already there's garbage on the road. Is there ever anyone who's fined or apprehended for littering and perhaps stopping the constant flow of garbage onto the roads? And is that something that falls under justice?
It does. What we have to do is bring an awareness, again, about littering. I remember when I was a young kid, I used to see the signs about littering. I do not see them anymore as a police officer, as a former police officer, I've never stopped anyone or arrested anyone or fined anyone for littering. I do also think it is something that needs to be taken up, as I really think that the police also needs to enforce such once seeing it.
Thank you, Minister, and thank you, Emily. I would now like to invite Jacqueline Hoffman of the Daily Herald. You have the floor.
Good morning, Ministers. With regard to the littering, based on the Algemene Politiekeur, it costs more for the police force to send an officer to a site where littering has occurred than the fine that is in the Algemene Politiekeur. Can you explain, you coming from the Sint Maarten Police Force, the challenges with the outdated Algemene Politiekeur and what can be done to raise the fines and change this whole part of the law?
Ms. Hoffman, point well taken, question well taken. Along with the latest verordening, I have to deal with my fine Minister of Finance. It is something, like I said, I'm here for nearly 6 months. However, my work will continue as a member of parliament to ensure that these fines can be realized to our modern day society. It's impossible that we have outdated fine payments for 90 guilders or 100 guilders from 1954. But now we can also update them and basically impose a stricter fine. I'm looking, like I said, across the border. You can't do those type of things on the French side because you will be fined heavily for it. So I'm not reinventing any wheel. I will look at what's going on the next part of the island and also present it to the Minister of Finance on how we can augment the fine, the fees in the latest verordening.
Thank you, Minister. Any other members of the media with a question for Minister Lewis? Bibi?
Minister, you spoke about immigration and the amount of people that are still undocumented and the lengthy process. There are people that I personally know that are waiting a year and a half, submitted their application, paid their fees, and no feedback. What are you doing? And while I know that you have a limited amount of time in office to be able to clean up the backlog, what is actually being done to that?
I've recently requested, I think yesterday, I've requested to have an urgent meeting with the staff, the director, SG, at immigration. Hopefully this meeting can be tomorrow or on Friday. I want to be honest with the people. I may try my utmost best as minister, as the one at the helm of the organization. But to be truthful, we have a lot of individuals working under the ministry that believe that they are the ministers and that they decide. And I'm here to say, because of that, we have a major backlog. So I will send a clear message in that meeting on Thursday or Friday that I am currently the minister. I currently decide on behalf of this country based on the verordening that we have. That others, because there are different means of obtaining your residency. So if someone, for example, requested based on labor and they can't get it based on labor, we as the people that represents them, that's supposed to assist them, can say, listen, you can also apply for it based on humanitarian. You can also apply for it if you open a company. We are supposed to be there to help the people and not be continuously telling the people, no, you cannot get it. Explain them why and how they can get it. That is the situation that we have with some civil servants. Some civil servants, I will say not all civil servants. And there's also those civil servants who will come to the minister and explain me what I'm telling you because I don't work immigration anymore. But I do have honest employees who will say, Minister, the people can get it based on this and based on that. But yet we have other employees that are withholding information from the minister. And that is the reason why Sint Maarten is in its state when it comes to immigration purposes.
Thank you, Minister. Unfortunately, Jacqueline, with Minister having to be back in Parliament and 2 other ministers to present, we don't have the time to facilitate that. Minister Lewis, thank you so much, and do have a pleasant day further. I would now like to invite the Honorable Minister of Finance, Ministers Gumbs, to address you. Minister Gumbs, you have the floor.
Thank you, Rolika. Fellow ministers, members of the press, and the people of Sint Maarten, good morning and a blessed day to all. I want to provide you with some key updates. Number 1, Sint Maarten Bankers Association press release On Wednesday, July 24, 2024, during the press briefing, I expressed my concern about vendors enforcing a minimum amount for card transactions and also passing on their bank charges to the consumers. I raised this issue with the central bank and requested that they address it with the St. Martin Bankers Association. I am pleased to see that the St. Martin Bankers Association, in collaboration with all banks on St. Martin, has issued a press release on this matter in September and continue to raise awareness in letting the consumers know their rights, as some businesses are taking advantage of the consumers. The press release clearly states that merchants are not allowed to enforce a minimum purchase limit for accepting debit or credit card payments. Customers have the right to use their cards for any transaction amount up to their available balance. However, I have been informed that some vendors are still imposing a minimum limit, and I would like to urge them to stop this practice immediately. As a consequence for this illegal practice, there are two things that can and will be done. The merchant's machine can be taken away and they can be blacklisted, which would not allow them to acquire a machine at any other bank. As stated in the press release, customers are encouraged to report any violations. If you experience any such issues, which I have been seeing on social media platforms lately, please email your report to St. Martin Bankers Association at gmail.com. Point number 2, amended budget 2024. The amended budget for 2024 has been sent to Parliament, and tomorrow at 11 a.m., I will be in Parliament to present this amended budget of 2024. We hope to have it approved by the end of October 2024 to be able to proceed with the payment of both the 2% and 1% COLA indexation to the subsidized school teachers who have been long awaiting this payment. Point number 3, Budget 2025. I have received the advice on the 2025 budget from CFT, and we're making some minor changes and amendments to the budget to send it to the Council of Advice. Once the amended budget for 2024 is completed, we will move forward with the handling of the 2025 budget with the aim of finalizing it by the deadline of December 15th, 2024. Additionally, in the Budget 2025, an extra salary indexation of 2% and vacation allowance increase of 1% is included. I want to assure the teachers from the subsidized schools that unlike this year, there will be no discrepancy between when they receive their funds compared to civil servants. I can assure you that all increases are included in the 2025 budget. Enya. Yesterday, Parliament approved the outline agreement, including the addendum and the matching rights Mullet Bay term sheet. I want to extend my thanks to all the members of Parliament who voted in favor. The most surprising vote came from the former Minister of Finance, the Honorable MP Artwell, who voted against an improved solution that he originally brought to Parliament. Moreover, he is the one who signed off on tying the COVID loans interest to the Enya solution and now voted against it. His explanation was that he was uncertain about the stance the Parliament of Curaçao would take. I strongly believe that it is unacceptable to allow the people of St. Martin to bear the costs for BES, Suriname, and Enya's operational expenses simply because of uncertainty regarding Curaçao's decision. As Minister of Finance, my priority will always be to safeguard the interests of St. Martin. We must stop worrying about what others might do and have the courage to stand firm for the benefit of our country and its people. Lastly, St. Martin Financial Literacy Month. Looking ahead, November is Financial Literacy Month on St. Martin, and we will be offering several free sessions for the public and civil servants. These sessions will cover the following topics: how to fill out your income tax form, understanding your payslip, which is key. This will be a specific session for civil servants explaining how their payslips are calculated, as it is important for individuals to understand this. Corporate governance presented by SOAB, an introduction to the Caribbean Guilder presented by the Central Bank, and a session on business taxes and filings. The full schedule and details for these sessions, along with the registration link, will be published at the end of the month. I thank you.
Thank you, Minister Gumbs. I will allow Minister Patrice Gumbs to present, and then we will go over to the question and answer session. So at this time, I would like to invite Minister of Public Housing, Spatial Planning, Environment, and Infrastructure, Patrice Gumbs Jr. to address you. Minister Gumbs, you have the floor.
Good morning, and thank you again, Relaika. Just a few quick remarks from my side. An update regarding the Island Scout. The Island Scout, as you know, was the vessel that ran aground at Great Bay Beach near the site of the former Great Bay Sonesta. ROMI took custodianship of that ship, and we actually are still the custodian. Note, we're not the legal owner. Since that time, we have made several attempts to recoup the funds for this from the owner, and the deadline for this is fast approaching October 16th. There have been some challenges in receiving this funding, and as such, we have taken the decision to announce today that as of next week, the 17th of October, we will formally offer the ship up for sale to whoever is interested party in it. Let me just begin by sharing, of course, for those interested in purchasing this vessel, the IOM number. This number is very critical, and you can actually put this number into the International Vessel Finder, where you can see all details regarding the ship. That number is 9215220. I repeat, 9215220. Interested persons, please contact minvromi@stmartingov.org, expressing your interest in the boat, purchasing the boat, and you will, of course, receive information about from Thursday onward about possible viewing of the vessel, if interested. This again is the announcement that the government of St. Martin, Minister of ROMI as custodian of Island Scout, will formally issue the ship for sale as of next week, Thursday the 17th. No, this is of course conditional. If the owner does appear and is able to finally reconcile his outstanding debt, the ship will of course then go towards him. But of course, in the interest of time, noting that we still have a very active hurricane season and FCCA conference coming up at the end of this month, we found it important to start this process ahead of the October 16th deadline. So again, interested persons, minvromi@stmartingov.org to express your interest in purchasing the vessel. Just some brief information. The gross tonnage is, of course, 1,931 tons, and the year of the build is 1999, and it's under the flag of the state of Panama. A bit more positive news. We actually began the road resurfacing project last week. We began the first road, which is Yanshu Raskin Boulevard, which is, as we know, the road that goes from the Vineyard Building into Point Blanche. The course of the last couple of days, the contractor has been busy milling the road, and up until we left this morning at 2 a.m., we finished 190, well, not we, but they, I was there for support. We milled 190 meters, and will now, between the course of tonight and tomorrow, be laying the first layer of asphalt in the section from Chesterfields until the military area on that boulevard. The idea is, of course, it will then continue on to Vineyard and then also into the entrance of Point Blanche. I ask again the continued support of the residents of Point Blanche and, of course, persons undertaking business activities during the course of the day. All work is, of course, happening during the night. I'd like to thank everybody for their cooperation. This project, of course, is part of the 5.7 million guilders allocated. From this, we'll move to LB Scott Road and then on to Arch Road as the month progresses. Important to note as well that next year we also have an allocation of 10 million for resurfacing. So what we're doing in this last couple of months is just doing the urgent major roads that really need our attention, and particularly with drainage. And then finally, this morning, I received a notification of works ongoing at what is the former diamond plantation. We have understood that there is no permits issued at all for work down there, and as such, I have sent the inspection department to investigate what is going on. You recall about over a year ago, a work stop was issued for that area. And of course, now this morning, seemingly, we have received messages that heavy equipment is on site again. I'd like to also stress to everybody that it's very important to realize that even when it comes to things like monuments, preservation, and garbage, it's not the Minister of ROMI who is the one destroying these monuments. It's not the Minister of ROMI or the government who is throwing garbage on the road. It is individuals who live in St. Martin, who are part of our society. So I cannot be held accountable if we don't hold ourselves accountable for our individual actions. I think for a very long time, in the course of the last couple of months, I've received almost daily trash in Phillipsburg, trash not being collected. The reality is there is a schedule that exists. There's a schedule of how garbage is collected. So if you're collecting garbage on Monday, Wednesday, and Friday, and you dump garbage at Tuesday, 1 a.m., it will stay there until Wednesday when it's collected. I think it's the responsibility of everyone to realize how they impact their environment and their society. It's not government's responsibility at all to monitor what happens. Government sets the framework, and society and everybody, including myself, has to follow rules for a decent place to live. So while I very much understand the sort of unfortunate situation of showing up into town in an alley and finding garbage, everyone blaming the Ministry of ROMI and government, it is not I or any of my colleague ministers who has put the garbage there. It's individuals who also form part of society who are also to blame. So again, it's about holding yourself accountable. Government will play, of course, its part. I think it's very important, and I think the minister will take very much so. We do need an education campaign, and I think also we have had a discussion within ROMI how we're going to actually work with the Minister of Justice in terms of increasing the fines. Because a number of these fines are, lack of a better word, pathetic. If I'm being charged 90 guilders, I probably won't get it enforced, I will just litter. And the reality is until we begin to realize that government, for example, picking up garbage and picking up cars, 73,000 guilders a year average is spent on collecting car wrecks. Think of those programs in terms of scholarship for students, in terms of health care, in terms of education costs. So your lack of care and accountability costs government money, where those funds can be allocated for much more beneficial things like social programs and education and healthcare. So it's a question about taking accountability and realizing that we're all part of the problem, but I think part of the solution as well. Thank you.
Thank you, Minister Gumbs. At this time, I would like to open the floor for questions. And Bibi Hatshaw, you have the floor. Can you kindly indicate which minister you'd like to have at the podium?
Thank you, Rulaika. I'd like to have the Minister of Finance, please.
Yep.
Minister Gumbs, speaking about the ENIA bailout that you got approved yesterday, I'd like to know over what period of time would St. Martin be able to save the 37 million you spoke of? And as Minister of Finance, were you able to have, even if a committee, verify if the identities or the existence of the 3,084 policyholders that we are all talking about saving or rescuing? Do you know if these people exist?
Thank you for your question, Ms. Shaw. The first question, I believe, was on committee.
No, the first question is about the 37 million that
Yes,
we
sorry.
are supposed to save.
Year 37 million is over a 30-year period, and I know that there are 30 years, and I know that there are many who question, but what kind of savings is that? You know, it doesn't seem to be much, but it's more than zero. I've said it on the floor of Parliament, and I'll reiterate it here again. And I believe any savings is a plus for the country of St. Martin. That's number one. Number two, the committee in question in regards to whether these 3,084 policyholders are real people, I am going based on the technical teams that were involved in presenting to me what this entire onion and having it unpeeled is all about. And I have to go based on the word of those technical individuals who said these are the 3,084 policyholders, and I have to trust. However, me trusting the fact that you presented me with a number doesn't stop me as minister or my team for further questioning. Yes, I got approved yesterday, carried by 8 members of parliament, for whom I am truly grateful, because at the end of the day, while I had my issues with the initial HLA, after assessing everything, knowing that the COVID loans were tied to finding a solution that was already signed off on, and I think people need to really understand that it was down to crunch time. Today, I have to sign. The signing has to happen. Tomorrow is the deadline. So imagine putting the country through an increase of at least 6.8% increase in interest rates. I cannot do that to the people of St. Martin, and I won't do it. And I'm very happy that yesterday's turnout of 8-5 was carried, but it doesn't stop me from continuing with the process in questioning the central bank and making sure that things are in place to never having this happen again. I stated before that I don't believe that tying the two with the COVID loans and finding a solution from ENIA, where the Dutch insisted that this had to find a solution together. I do not believe that that was the way to go, and we will as a government see if it was even legal to do so. I thank you for your question.
Just as clarity.
No, unfortunately, we'd have to move on. Thank you, Minister. Jacqueline Hoffman of the Daily Herald, I will allow you your question, as you did have a second question for Minister Lewis, and you didn't get your second question, so you can go ahead.
Thank you. Minister Gumbs,
which Minister Gumbs? It's two. Okay.
Minister Gumbs, female Gumbs. The Prime Minister said about GB that a loan of 42 million was requested from the Netherlands, and that was incorporated in the budget for 2024. How does that work if the negotiations for the conditions for the loan will come later? So how he said that it would be incorporated, and later he would sit with the Netherlands to talk about the interest rate.
I can't answer in terms of what the Prime Minister said in reference to later. What I do know is that based on the budget amendment, this is very key. We have 3 things specifically that needs the attention. The prison is one of them. The GEBE and the 3 generators amounting to approximately 75 million guilders, and also mental health foundation. So those things are definitely impacted based on Budget Amendment 2024.
Okay. Thank you, Minister.
Then the ENIA question, you said that this is all due to a long-standing problem with the supervisory role of the central bank. There are a number of cases from people on St. Martin against local banks, and those might have been prevented, and the auction of properties and giving mortgages to people who were already had mortgages before and were not able to pay it, and it was the property was auctioned off, still getting mortgages from banks. What can you do, or what can government do to improve the supervisory role of the central bank? And also complaints and questions from people on St. Martin to the central bank for those to be answered?
Thank you again for your question. I think those concerns, as well as any other concern that persons may have towards the central bank, should be therefore brought forward to the minister in question, so that we can definitely look into these matters as a government to see how we can mitigate any issues that persons may have with whether it's mortgages, you name it, with whatever issues that they may have with banks on St. Martin. And I think we can only do so once we officially know the complaints, officially know what the issues are, and then we can bring them up with the central bank and see how we can definitely mitigate. Thank you.
Thank you, Minister. Emily?
So first, a clarification question. So regarding the 42 million that's in the budget amendment, does that mean that government is borrowing the money from the Netherlands? And is that an indication that GB then is not in a financial situation where it can go on the market to secure that loan on its own financial strengths basis?
The answer to your question, Mr. Lee, is yes. We are borrowing the 42 million, and GB is not in a financial position to handle this matter on their own.
Okay. My question for you is the General Audit Chamber recently published a report, and they mentioned that they found unclear policies which can lead to an inconsistent treatment regarding assessments that are issued.
Mm-hmm.
What's the ministry's thoughts on the report, and do you have a plan of action to address the points that were brought up in their report?
Thank you for your question, Mr. Lee. I briefly looked at the General Audit Chamber's report. I haven't gone into much detail understanding everything that was at play at the moment, but I will definitely dive into it more so that I can come back to you with a proper answer as to what we plan to do about these assessments in question.
Thank you, Minister Gumbs. That brings us to the end of our question and answer session for Minister of Finance, Marinka Gumbs. I would now like to invite Minister of ROMI, Patrice Gumbs Jr. Bibi Hatsha, you have the floor.
Thank you, Rulaika. Minister Gumbs, ROMI, there are reports that there is still mold in this building, and that there are several servants that got ill because of mold, some that are even working from home. What are you doing as the Minister of ROMI, Deputy Prime Minister, to rectify this issue?
Thanks, Ibi, for the question. The question actually, there is no role for the Minister of ROMI formally, legally, in terms of the maintenance of this building. Maintenance of the building, the mold, that all falls under the Prime Minister. So I have to have him to answer that question, and we send it to you directly in terms of his initiatives and what he's doing with the Ministry of General Affairs, as well as ZV, regarding the continuous mold issue that has been an issue for a number of years in this building. Yeah.
Thank you, Minister Gumbs. Thank you, Bibi. Emily, you have the floor.
Minister, good morning. I'm looking at the manifesto for the Party for Progress, and one of the things that you address as a party is noise pollution, identifying that it's an issue on the island, and that you have plans to revamp the existing national ordinance regulating neighborhood noise pollution. Can you give us an idea what your timeline looks like on that?
Yeah, so great. I think definitely it's something that we have written down, and it's very dear to us, particularly because, again, it's what I guess it reference across what I just said about sort of a shared community in society. There's a number of complaints over a number of years regarding sort of nightclub institutions, bars that play excessive amounts of music. We've actually, in discussions recently, received a request from one institution in particular to increase the decibel levels in their area. The first thing you have to remember is that with everything that is noise, it requires a hindrance permit. I think we often think of permits as just being to build. Permits are everything from when you require a generator, when you want to play music very loud, when you want to excavate land. The common practice in St. Martin is that no one ever really applies for those permits. Nightclubs do because music is quite obvious, but most permits are not requested when it comes to things like hindrance for noise. in terms of strategy, there is discussions ongoing as to how we address this in legislation, for example. But I think it's important to also realize that you need to basically have we need to basically address the fact that there are very limited use of hindrance permits. For example, generator noise, you're supposed to request that. And if you have any changes, for example, to the type of generator you have, for example, which is a very common one now that everyone is using generators because of GB, you have to actually request a new permit if you have increased levels of generator noise, which I think has been one of the complaints that have come out across the board to me in the last couple of weeks. Any use of generator does require a hindrance permit. I know it's not very common to request one, particularly for individual homes, but it is a requirement, and that has to be followed. In terms of a long-term strategy to address it, that's something that we have to sit down and outline, but in the last couple of months, it hasn't been given sort of the legislative attention it needs to get in the long term.
Do you have a timeline?
No, not a time, no. Our bunch.
Thank you, Mr. Lee. Thank you, Minister. Jacqueline Hoffman, you have the final question.
Minister, could you please follow up in writing on the request about the farewell granting of permits by the former Minister Doran regarding the May 2 permit for the Character Beach?
Yes, actually, I can share some information with you now on that.
Sorry. And,
yeah, no.
And the Beacon Hill, also the Phoenician. And I wanted to ask something about the permits. Building permits are granted for 1 year. And the previous minister said that is he's not taking that very precise. But that would affect your co-minister in the budget because there is some money attached to these building permits that has to be paid. Also for the civil works permit. And last year there were only 10% of civil works permits in relation to the building permit issued. That doesn't jive really well. So is this year going to be attained to, or can people buy a piece of land, request a building permit, and then later, years later, start building?
Yeah, thank you so much. So let me address the first few questions regarding existing building permits. One for the property, the project next to Character. Indeed, a permit was issued for that May 2nd, I believe. It's important to note that permits can be issued, but what is the purpose of the land? If you look at the May brief, so the sort of the piece of the regulating document, that piece of land, it's actually for a single dwelling or a trailer bungalow. It's not necessarily for a commercial enterprise. So that permit issued on May 2nd, not by myself, was not issued for the right use or purpose of the land. It's also important to realize that this is not a unique situation. This has happened in a number of areas around St. Martin where it's a single dwelling home and all of a sudden we have a condominium. And again, the issue is that what that brings about is are the utilities in place to support those kind of initiatives? Is there parking in place? If you're supposed to have a single dwelling home and you have a construction for a restaurant has 20 plus cars, a home has 1 to 3. So, and it starts impacting infrastructure, starts impacting your neighbors. So again, it's been issued, permitted, but the use of the land is incorrect. Something we have to actually review because the question now becomes, do you start penalizing persons who have received previous permits as well? Or do you now move forward with actually adhering to your own rules and regulations within government? Regarding the Phoenician, the Beacon Hill, the prior Beacon Hill case, of course, that's something that we are having discussions on because we have been unable formally to identify who the new owner is of the property. The project was approved and then the permits, the project was sold. The site was sold to a new developer who we're trying to formally get the information of. And then thirdly, I think your third...
The duration of the building permit.
Yes, exactly. Yeah, so then building permits are indeed valid for a certain amount of time. They've never been enforced as such. It's a discussion we're also trying to have as well because I've received this morning, for example, a letter dated September 20th that came to me now this morning, October 9th, requesting a further extension of an existing building permit in an area, which has been issued quite some time ago. For me, it's a question of, it's a case by case. Why is your building permit, why are you not fulfilling your building permit? Is it an issue of financing capital, or is it you're speculating and trying to sell the building permits with the land later on for a higher price? This is also what we're seeing too when it comes to government-owned land. Persons are getting government-owned land. They're supposed to develop it legally to sell it over, and they don't sell it, they don't develop it, but they want to sell it. So it's speculation. You're paying $1,500 guilders a year sometimes for a piece of land and selling it for $400,000 US. So the question becomes, is the building permit not being used for a specific reason? For example, the request I have relates to the fact that this is a building permit issued for quite a big development, and noting the energy crisis going on, they wish to not proceed to develop until it's until basically we've come out of this crisis. So that's the request being made for that development. In that case, something like that, which has a social consciousness, can be considered for extension. Generally speaking, though, your building permit, your building permit has to be used for a certain period of time, but it's not always the case that it is. How that's handled, I think, has to be a case-by-case basis, but there is a legal basis for within 1 year. I think one of the key things that we have to also consider is that the capacity of government, particularly of ROMI, has to match our own laws, because we also have something that says a building permit comes in within 6 months, you have to get a response from government. I'm signing off on building permits in 2021, 2022. I actually signed off on a building permit just last month for an establishment that I've been frequenting for the past year. So something has gone wrong in terms of, yes, there's laws, but if government doesn't have the capacity to fulfill the laws, we have to also look at ourselves and say, you know, we can't keep punishing people if we don't also hold out oneself accountable at the government to make sure that we actually can fulfill what we legally require.
Thank you, Minister. Thank you, members of the media. This does bring us to the end of the question and answer session. Any further questions can be sent to the Minister's Cabinet in writing. Honorable Ministers of the Council, members of the media, radio listeners, and online viewers, this brings us to the end of the live Council of Ministers press briefing for today, Wednesday, October 9th, 2024. For rebroadcast, tune into stmartingov.org, St. Martin Gov Radio 107.9 FM, Tel TV Plus Channel 15, the official Facebook page of the Government of St. Martin, and YouTube channel Government of St. Martin. For video on demand, log on to the Government of St. Martin's YouTube channel. On behalf of the Department of Communication and the Government of St. Martin, I'm Relaika Roach, and wishing you a pleasant day further.